Hello everyone, this is Alien Reddit Stories, where I tell alien stories off of Reddit. My YouTuber buddy Johnny Blix insisted that I come up with an intro, so here it goes. Yeah, they are out there. Alien Reddit Stories. I was on a program called Wilderness Quest in Utah when I was 17 years old. Long story short, our small group saw a weird light in the sky moving at incredible speeds in multiple directions. It seemed to enter our atmosphere accompanied by a large flash of light. Moments later, 16 fighter jets, 8 stealth bombers, and 1 large radar plane flew over our heads to the area we witnessed the strange light. It was a super clear night, and in the middle of the Utah desert, you could see the night sky extremely well, so we were able to count all the planes with ease. The next day, our new wilderness guy showed up, said he used to work for NORAD, and asked us a bunch of questions about what we saw. The next morning, he was gone and no one ever heard of him again. The reports in the paper said it was the Genesis satellite crashing. There's no way in hell that thing was a satellite crashing. I also just posted this earlier on the NORAD Twitter feed. Weird timing. Edit. Wilderness Quest was different 10 to 11 years ago. There wasn't all these new laws and restrictions. A kid burned down $1 million worth of forest and everything changed after I left. The guy Larry went bankrupt and sold the business. Back then, we just effed and hiked wherever the F we wanted to. I will post pictures when I scan them into my computer. We saw ancient Anasazi ruins and Anasazi ruins that have been untouched for decades. Hordes of pottery everywhere broken into pieces. It was pretty insane. Story number 2. No one will probably read this and it sounds crazy, but here's my story. I was 12 at the time and my family has a camp on the Tangapahoe River in Louisiana. Oh, that's a lot of syllables. The only way you can get there is by boat. If you ever in that area, there has been on TV, especially recently, with shows like Axemen and Swamp People. Oh, I know those shows. So it was just my uncle, my cousin, and myself. And we're heading back to the boat launch on a Saturday night. Now, the boat we were in didn't have any working lights. So to see where we were going, my uncle would occasionally shoot a flare. He was kind of crazy and has since passed. Yeah, that's actually an insane way to navigate, but yeah, it worked. We quickly ran out of flares. Okay. We quickly ran out of the flares. You shoot at it at around 2-hour boat ride back to the landing. So I ended up on the front of the boat holding a regular flare as we were now on a much narrower stretch of river. Went to the left in the swamp, 2 large glowing balls appeared. Then there was another to the right. I'm just trying to keep this flare from burning me, and little cousin is freaking out. After around 10 minutes of them navigating through the swamp, they formed a triangle above us on the river. It is hard to gauge how far up they were, but it was very visible. They continued to follow us for the rest of the journey, back to the landing, and as soon as we arrived, they disappeared. This happened around 18 years ago, but it's something I will never forget. I don't talk about this stuff really, and usually just keep it to myself. I have had one other encounter. Story number 3. I was minding my own business, sitting on a chair overlooking a small lake close to my house, drinking some Bud Light. Suddenly, an odd sound echoed through the valley. I could see figures walking around among the trees on the other side. I thought they were just hunters using some new prey called instrument. Don't bother to think about it too much. They got closer and closer until I could clearly see a non-human figure with distinct golden skin. I jumped in my chair, but remained seated. They began to approach me when they began to communicate in some strange language. They must have known that I couldn't understand because they threw some paper material with writing in my direction. I was startled when the thing threw the paper. They disappeared during my reaction. I must have startled them. I picked up the paper which was at my feet and read the cryptic words aloud in my head. Tree fitty. Final story. I've had sleep paralysis and dreams of both greys and human-looking aliens since I was 8. But 2 things stand out to me. One night in 1998 or 99, I woke up in a dark room, no paralysis, actually awake. I didn't see any details of the room except that it was dark and I was laying on my side form of a table. More important was that it was a wide awake looking up at a grave. I was on my right side and looking down at me. I freaked the F out and started shaking uncontrollably in fear and rolled out over to face him. No idea why I didn't roll the other way. As I rolled, I looked him directly in the eyes. That was the most profound thing I have ever seen. I saw a deep intelligence there, But it was also like the blackness of his eyes were a window out into a black universe filled with stars. It was an image that only lasted a second, but I found it really spiritual. When I completed my role and was curled up in a ball, I heard a voice in my head, "Go back to sleep." I conked out and that was it. It was the most spiritual and most terrifying moment of my life. More importantly, many of the dreams have involved a blonde girl. Looks about 20, thin, always wears white. Kind of like if you make a t-shirt out of a wedding dress. 5'7", shoulder length, straight blonde hair. I should also point out that my parents are very antisocial, and at the time I was in high school and we didn't exactly have any visitors. I'm also the only blonde person in my family. Constant dreams of a blonde girl associated with aliens. No big deal. Finally, finding literally hundreds of hairs matching hers around my parents. Place changed things for me. It only lasted about a year in 1999 to 2000, but I found them on a regular basis. They always seemed to be left in places where only I would find them. Some were woven into clothes, some had intricate knots, and I saw one drop out of my midair in front of me. They didn't match anyone I knew, let alone whoever was in the house. Fast forward 13 years, and I've finally decided to get some of those hairs and analyze. This is actually a comment, an edit. The result, a Lithuanian female. As far as I know, I've never met anyone from Lithuania. I got my own genetics done in case of contamination. We share a few markers, but it's definitely not the same. By far, her best ancestry match is Lithuanian, and Lithuania is way down the list of possible ancestries for me. I plan to do more tests at some point, when my money isn't so tight. I know a few hairs isn't hardly conclusive evidence, but a random tidbit I find interesting. A guy named Peter Curry found supposed alien hairs years ago, and one thing that stuck out was that there was a gene for HIV resistance. Lithuanians also have a chunk of hair of their population which shares this gene. Also, a random thought. I know that people often dismiss sleep paralysis as it is known to cause hallucination, but one thing I've always wondered is that what we could purposely induce into someone. No clue how. It's just a thought. Okay, the two of those stories are absolutely phenomenal. The one with the sleep paralysis, first of all, that is an amazing story. You woke up to them? They constantly were there? They were turning you over? Deep, dark, spiritual eyes in the darkness, in the void? My goodness. My question is this. What on God's green earth possessed you to not tell anyone? Okay, there's hairs all over your house, your parents' house. Why wouldn't you say something? Why wouldn't you bring it up? You see an apparition, some sort of blonde siren lady calling you in the dark, in the darkness of your imaginations, alongside aliens, a Lithuanian with HIV resistance. My God, terrifying yet so believable. I love the idea that you're staring into the stars as if it's an abyss. You're looking through the uncanny valley. You're looking into the abyss, sir, and the abyss look back at you quite literally with giant eyes. Right? As for the other story with the 8 stealth bombers. What? 8 stealth bombers? How many jets? 16 jets? This guy, you know what? In Utah, they have a lot of military air base. They have air bases down there. They know what's up down there. That's what we're doing. They do a lot of their plane tests. And if you go next over to Nevada, that's where they do all the nuclear tests, right? So I trust those canyon people, those desert and canyon people. Those guys are aware. Trust me. They're not out of the loop. They're not city folk or even bush folk, or they're not even country folk. They're desert and canyon folk. Right? That's where Los Alamos is. That's where all the hidden ICBM bunkers and underneath and all the underground bunkers that the governments have. They're all in those desolate stretches of land because they don't know what's gonna find them. Who's gonna get out there? And you'll see them from miles and miles away. And more or less, you know what? You have the advantage. As for what that satellite, it's not a satellite. Come on, family. A satellite? A satellite came down, so I sent a NORAD guy to a kids camp. Hi, I'm NORAD John. Don't mind me. I'm Will Smith in Men in Black. I just came here to discuss the camp that you're at. Why are you here, sir? You work for NORAD. That is a huge degradation of your pay wage to come down to a teenage camp in Utah. You got like 14 employees down there, right? They're not paying much for those camps, all right? That was a joke. Calm down, Utah. I know you guys have some money down there, right? But what I don't have my undivided attention of you folks here, all right? So for the sake of Utah and those kids camps and for those aliens that touch down there, go ahead and hit subscribe. Do it. It will liberate you. It will liberate you. And I'll see you next time in Alien Reddit Stories. Okay, that was a bottle of pop that dropped, all right? Don't freak out. Love ya.